It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Robin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to be starting our show today talking about the elections. February 2023 is around the corner, but more importantly, September 28th is even closer, which is the beginning of campaigns officially by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The INEC has said that a 5-month window will be left open for candidates across board to campaign openly to voters to get their votes for the elections in February. And a lot is happening around the country. People are starting to talk about polls. These day newspapers published something on their front page on Thursday talking about the likelihood of who's going to win, calling the race too close to call for now. That's the presidential elections, of course. So the policy is quite heated. A lot of the candidates have gone to London and come back after trying to solicit whoever it is to come into their corner. Former President Obasanjo is still in the conversation, interestingly. So we're going to be talking about all of that and more on the show today. And I'm joined now by Adeni Ikuno, who is a political analyst. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you also.
We've all been waiting for September 28th. Finally, the month is here. There's a lot that's been happening already behind the scenes. Lots of traveling, horse trading. The PDP is still, we're still not sure what's happening with the Wike dynamic. The APC is still trying to sort of, pacify because a lot of people are not necessarily happy with, the choice of candidates and all of that. The Labour Party, people are still not sure about this word structure and how it would affect anything, the outcome. What are your thoughts on how things are going to shape up in the coming weeks?
In the first place, we need to evolve a culture. If you find out, each individual belongs in a family, and every family has a culture. You go to some homes, you can sit the way you want. You go to some other homes, people are more organized. You go to some homes, you don't eat after 8 p.m. You go to some home at 10 p.m., people are still taking bottles of soft drinks. There's a culture we have not evolved here, and I think there's a lot that has resulted in not having a political culture, a culture that one can describe as that which belongs to Nigeria. And it is, of course, because we don't pay attention to details. We are multi-ethnic, multilinguistic, we are multifarious people. And of course, we have our disaffections. So I think that what we must do first, going into this particular election, is to see if we can do crash course in the reconscientization of people into the ideal culture of political participation. If we endeavor such crash courses in trying to let people see themselves beyond the divides, which are everywhere anyway. For instance, if you've traveled a great deal of times, if you live in Arizona and you found yourself maybe in Michigan and you are from the US, you'd find out that this person is from Arizona, especially one who is native to that place. I've said that because across the world we have divides. If you live in Liverpool, you speak differently than somebody who lives in Edinburgh. These things are there. But the people in question that I've made reference to are able to look beyond these obvious divides and see what works for everybody. So the crash course in evolving a political culture that will help us address election issues from a perspective of getting it right, the fact that it must be free and fair, these things are very fundamental. So it is in doing this that we're able to get ready indeed to address our issues. I must say that.
Yeah. I wanted to go to the cover page of This Day on Thursday, which was very, very interesting. They did sort of an analysis of the three major candidates, and they said the race is still too close to call. Now, but they said it's too close to call for the PDP and the APC. The Labour Party candidate was not seen as one of the three. He's touted to win the Southeast and some parts of the South-South. Lagos is interesting in the analysis because the analysis said the APC candidate will most likely take it. The Labour Party candidate is making inroads because it's probably the most cosmopolitan city and they're drifting towards his messaging. But the PDP has always done well in Lagos as well. So there's going to be a very interesting shift in a lot of places around the country.
Of course.
For example, the Northeast is usually the stronghold of Atiku Abubakar. But now the vice presidential candidate for the APC is from that same region. It's a very different election we're playing out, isn't it? Yeah,
I think that it's beautiful for democracy to evolve a system where nobody feels like they've taken others to the cleaners. And it also attests to the level of our exposure to the things that we should have long been aware of. Oftentimes people feel like elections don't concern me, but if you allow somebody who do not or who doesn't actually understand the dynamics of political representation and leadership takes power, you suffer for it. The reason you're here is because you're not a product of quick meal. You know, this age likes just get it done quickly. You've been there over the years, so you are a product of a well-formed substructure and systems that has enabled you hold your own within the global space. The same thing is expected of people who get within the framework of political leadership. And at this moment, the reconscientization of especially millennials into what they should be doing. You can't be in a cocoon on your phone. You suffer for it. For instance, majority of them have been on strike, especially those at the federal universities, from February or March of this year. Up to this time, they're still at home. And even the ones that are in school, it's kind of haphazard. So if you look at it, they believe that over the years, we've been doled or shuffled cards that we do not want. And I really like the fact that nobody at the moment feels, even the three people that you talked about, there are no guarantees. You need 25% in 2/3 of the that is how you actually get it.
Yeah.
So if you do not get that, it is impossible for you. So I think that it is healthy for democracy, but if we look away from them also, most of them should start talking in the direction of the people that will vote for them. And I think this is an opportunity for the millennials to understand they have the power. 50, 60% of 220 million people approximately are those who are vibrant, full of energy, those who believe that their future must be protected, without which we are all in problem. So if you look at it, I think it is good. I think we're evolving. But even whilst that's happened, we know that the election is not handled by the electorate. It is handled by an umpire.
Right.
And the umpire, to a great extent, has the power to do and undo, and if there's any kind of do's in between, that is what the person can do.
Speaking of umpires, something that people don't talk about a lot is that for the first time, I think since 2007,
Okay.
we'll be having an election without the incumbents on the ballot. But interestingly, that election in 2007,
Yeah.
even the eventual winner, the late President Yaradua,
Yeah.
did say it was quite flawed.
He actually agreed to that.
So I don't know how that plays into this time when Buhari is not going to be on the ticket, President Buhari is not going to be on the ticket. So all the candidates are people who are supposedly fresh candidates.
Well,
is that
okay.
going to be a good...
I do not think it's pretty fresh. Let me use this opportunity to chip it in that I also speak for Dumebe Kachuku, a presidential candidate of the ADC. We were at the NBA conference, and we saw that the three persons mentioned have been within the corridors of power. That means they've been newsmakers within the Fourth Republic, which is 22 years.
Yes.
You cannot take that presence away. If you discount that, you'll suffer for it. Atiku Abubakar comes from a region of the north that has a pattern of voting in an election. And that also has the word sentiment infused into that. If you left there, you talk about a Shetima. You rightly mentioned that in your opening, that this is a region that accounts for a whole lot as far as elections are concerned. But you also should understand here that because of the evolution of our political consciousness, some people are waiting in the wings to actually let them see the things they never expected. We know you can't take away experience. Atiku at the NBA conference was talking about experience. Shetima talked about the fact that he has done quite a number of things, even if there are questions. Peter Obi was crunching the numbers. And interestingly, Dumebe Kachuku that I speak for, was there and he said, I want to greet my grandfathers. And that is a communication. He believes it belongs within the demography of youth that they can appeal to. So I must say that being in the news over the years by being a governor, a former governor matters, but Atiku also has been in the corridors. So, but for the fact that we had space of time between when he was in office and now coming, he's been a perennial person who returns to actually participate. So you can't take away his experience. Peter Obi is actually gathering certain momentum that if you look away from, you could also suffer for it. Because he has actually pinched people into that reality of the lies they've been told and the truth that they must know and act upon. Shetima obviously held the sway at the conference for his superior. But at the same time, we know the conversations around the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They talked about age issues. We had to travel 16, 18 hours to the US for Chicago State University to tell us, yes, he attended school. Okay, what business is that? So you find out that there are lots of things that will play out for or against the people. Dumebu Kachuku tells the world, I'm the youngest, I understand this. I've done a diagnosis of everything that is happening. So all of these things are out there. It is not left for the average voter to say, I have seen all these cards that have been doled. How do I pick the right one? I need to be in possession of the aces and spades. I need to hold the king and queen. And if you play Scrabble or you play chess, you should understand that once the queen is in your hand, you know where to go. So really, it's going to be a very interesting electioneering season. And as you said, it's coming this month.
I like the fact that you mentioned that. I want to just quickly talk about, two things I want to ask. First off, is it surprising that Rabiu Kwankwaso is not even in the conversation when you talk about the race on a general level? And then secondly, the Labour Party they don't like to be called the third force, but most people say they are. You've talked about maybe Kachiku and all the other candidates who are also in the race.
Yes, please.
Why has the talk about them coming together to, be a solid force not come to fruition still?
Well, I think that you should understand that power has its own idiosyncrasies. It has its features. It doesn't embrace friendship forever. It embraces privileges, opportunities, and advantages that come to you. Power is not like cooking a meal. Power is pretty different the world over. You have to understand that oftentimes where your interest is where you tilt towards. And that is why people are looking at I am powerful. For instance, let's look at Rabiu Kwankwaso. I met him at the airport, by the way, 2 weeks ago. A very amiable and dangerously intelligent person. Not so much of an extrovert, but of course he's calculated. I followed him while in power, his publications, the things he wrote, and I must tell you, he's a dogged person. Now, the political capital of Nigeria is the Northwest. For the North is the Northwest. For the South is Lagos, where we are right now. And if you look at Kwankwaso, he believes that he has a movement across the northwestern part of the country. By the way, that region has the highest number as far as registered voters, 96 million plus to go into the election, compared to the 84 million plus that went for the 2019 elections. So there's a chunk coming from there, followed by the south or west, of course, the south where we are. He believes that I've held my own enough. Even if you see anything, I have to remain where I am for you to make overtures, for us to actually work together. So somebody's talking about the fact that I have the power. If you look at Atiku Abubakar, he believes that as far as he's concerned, he has held the vice presidential position before, and in the Northeast, nobody stands soldiers equal. Even if a Shetima speaks, quite frankly, Atiku is a bulwark over there. But if you talk about Kwankwaso, he looks to me like a man who will decide a lot of faith. Don't forget that the subordinates that served in the capacity of the deputy, who is the current governor of Kano State, fell out with his master sooner as he got in the office than that happened. But if you look at what Kwankwaso has been able to do, he's been able to show that my personality is acceptable, not only in the Northwest, but of course even beyond that. We often don't talk about the north central part of this country. That region is key to any election that has been won. If you look at the character, for instance, of a Kwankwaso and, for instance, an Atiku Abubakar, in my own political analysis and estimation, a Kwankwaso would easily want to work with like a Samuel Otom, who is from the north central state of Benue, than for them to work with an Atiku. It sounds funny, but that's a fact. If you also check what has been happening within the rank and file of the PDP, you'd agree with me that the demography and the political perspective of the like of Otom, of the Wike you talked about, sits quite different from that of the Atiku Abubakar of this world and Iyocha, who happens the current leader,
yeah.
Yes, of the PDP. So I really need to say that what you've mentioned is very, very important. And going forward, this will also be part of what we revenge. So overtures won't be possible because everybody believes in my own right I'm a colossus. So they will wait for the best time to strike while the iron is hot.
So, February 2023, inevitable. How do you think things are going to play out eventually?
The electorate will be the decider in that election. But I also worry about what the electorate will do if the weather is not favorable to them and they have to stand far longer than they expect.
So little factors might shape the day.
Well, that is it. Number one, don't forget that the times when we talk about thugs and all that, they endure the inclements of any weather condition. They might have been motivated, with some kind of paltry sum, but they believe that there's devotion to the cause for their respective masters. I think that the devotion to the Nigerian cause should be ultimate in the minds of the electorate, regardless of the rain, regardless of the sun, regardless of INEC's possible logistical problems. They should see through. The electorate will be the ultimate decider of the election.
That's a very good place to end it. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show